I want to talk to you today about being an extravagant giver. Not just giving when it's convenient, not just giving the bare minimum, but going above and beyond. Being the kind of person who looks for ways to bless, to uplift, to pour into others. Too often we hold back. We think, I don't have enough, or I'll be generous when my situation improves. But here's the key. Giving is not about what you have. It's about your heart. When you develop a spirit of generosity, when you're willing to step out in faith and give, you set yourself up for blessings beyond what you can imagine. I love what the scripture says, give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Notice, it doesn't say give and you might receive. No, it says when you give, it will come back to you. Not in the same measure, but in an abundant, overflowing way. That's because God is a God of abundance. When you become an extravagant giver, when you look for ways to bless others, not just with money, but with your time, your encouragement, your kindness, God takes notice. He says, that's someone I can trust with more. That's someone I can bless so they can be a bigger blessing. I heard a story about a man who struggled financially for years. He barely had enough to get by. But one day he made a decision. He said, I'm going to be a giver. Even in my lack, I'm going to be generous. He started blessing people in small ways, paying for someone's meal, giving an extra tip, supporting a friend in need. Little did he know, his giving was setting him up for breakthroughs he couldn't see. Doors began to open. Promotions came. Unexpected opportunities showed up. Before long, he was in a place of overflow, living in abundance. That's what happens when you live to give. You don't shrink back. You don't worry about what you're losing. Instead, you recognize that every time you give, you're planting a seed. And those seeds always bring a harvest, not just for you, but for generations to come. So I challenge you today, be an extravagant giver. Give love, give encouragement, give your resources, give your time. You may think you don't have much, but in God's hands, a little becomes a lot. Watch how He takes what you give and multiplies it back to you in ways beyond your wildest dreams. There is a universal principle that governs life, a truth woven into the very fabric of existence. When you give freely, blessings flow back to you in ways you never expected. The act of giving is not just about parting with something you own. It is an expression of faith, a declaration that you believe in abundance rather than scarcity. Too often, people hesitate to give because they fear they will have less. They worry that if they give away their resources, their time, or their effort, they might find themselves lacking. But this is where a mindset shift is needed. True giving is not about subtraction. It is about multiplication. It is about understanding that when you give with a cheerful heart, you are not losing, you are making room for something greater to come into your life. Think about a farmer planting seeds in the ground. If the farmer holds on to those seeds, afraid that planting them will leave him with nothing, he will never see a harvest. But when he releases them into the soil, those seeds do not disappear. Instead, they go through a miraculous transformation. They take root, grow, and in due time, they produce a harvest far greater than what was sown. That is the nature of giving. When you give, you are sowing seeds, seeds of kindness, seeds of generosity, seeds of love. And just like in nature, what you plant will return to you in multiplied form. Have you ever noticed that the most fulfilled and joyful people are often the most generous? It is not a coincidence. When you live with an open hand, ready to give, you invite abundance into your life. There is something powerful about releasing what you have to bless others. It sets something supernatural in motion. Opportunities begin to appear, unexpected doors open, and you find yourself walking in a new level of favor. One of the greatest misconceptions about giving is that you need to have a lot in order to be generous. But true generosity is not about the amount. It is about the heart behind it. You may not be able to give large sums of money, but you can give your time, your kindness, your wisdom, your encouragement. A simple act of generosity can change someone's life. It can be a meal for someone in need, a word of encouragement to a discouraged friend, or an act of kindness that seems small to you but means the world to someone else. History is filled with examples of people who lived by this principle. There was a businessman who struggled for years to make ends meet. Every penny counted, and there was never much left over. But one day he made a decision. He decided that no matter how little he had, he would always be a giver. He started small, helping a neighbor, supporting a friend, giving where he could. Over time, something incredible happened. The more he gave, the more opportunity started coming his way. His business began to grow, his financial situation improved, and before he knew it, he was in a position of abundance. Looking back, he realized that every time he gave, he was unlocking doors that had once seemed impossible to open. Giving does not just affect your finances or your external circumstances. It changes you from the inside out. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have to offer. It helps you break free from a scarcity mindset and embrace a mindset of abundance. When you make generosity a way of life, you begin to see the world differently. Instead of asking, what can I get? You start asking, what can I give? And that simple shift has the power to transform your life in extraordinary ways. Some of the most inspiring stories of giving come from people who had very little but still chose to give. There was a woman who, despite facing financial struggles, made it her mission to help others. Every week she would cook meals and deliver them to families who were struggling even more than she was. It was never about how much she had. It was about her willingness to give. Over time, her generosity caught the attention of others. People began supporting her cause, providing her with resources, and before long she had a full-scale organization dedicated to feeding and helping those in need. What started as small acts of kindness turned into a movement that changed countless lives. That is the beauty of giving. It has a ripple effect. When you give, it inspires others to do the same. One act of generosity can create a chain reaction, spreading goodness further than you ever imagined. You never know how your giving might impact someone. A simple word of encouragement could be exactly what someone needs to keep going. A small financial gift could be the breakthrough someone has been praying for. What may seem insignificant to you could be life-changing for someone else. Giving is not just about material things. It is about pouring into others in whatever way you can. It is about living with an open heart, ready to bless, ready to uplift, ready to make a difference. And here's the secret. When you live this way, you will never lack. Just like the farmer who plants his seeds with confidence, knowing that a harvest will come, you can give knowing that blessings are on their way to you. So do not hold back. Do not let fear keep you from being the giver you were meant to be. Step into a life of generosity and watch as doors open, opportunities arise, and blessings flow into your life in ways you never expected. When you give, you unlock blessings, not just for others, but for yourself. There is a timeless principle that governs the world, a truth that operates whether we realize it or not. It is a force that is always at work, shaping lives, determining destinies, and setting the course for the future. Everything we do, everything we give, everything we pour into others has a way of coming back to us in unexpected ways. It is not a matter of luck or chance. It is a law as real as the laws of gravity, as certain as the rising of the sun. Every action, every word, every moment of generosity is like planting a seed in the soil. A farmer does not expect to plant corn and harvest wheat. He does not scatter seeds randomly and hope something good will grow. No, he plants with intention. He sows in expectation of a harvest, understanding that what he puts into the ground will determine what he receives in return. Life works the same way. What we pour out into the world, what we invest in others, what we give from our hearts, these are the seeds we are planting. And just like in nature, these seeds do not remain dormant. They take root, they grow, and they return to us in multiplied form. It may not happen overnight. It may not come in the way we expect, but the harvest is always certain. Many people go through life unaware of this truth. They wonder why things are not working out, why they keep facing struggle after struggle, why success seems just out of reach. But if they were to look closely, they might realize that what they are experiencing is simply the return of what they have been sowing. A life filled with negativity, selfishness, and fear will inevitably produce the same in return. But a life marked by kindness, generosity, and a willingness to pour into others will bring a different kind of harvest, one of abundance, joy, and unexpected opportunity. There was a man who lived by this principle without even realizing it. He was not wealthy. He was not famous. He did not have connections in high places. But he had a heart to help people. Whenever he saw someone in need, he did what he could to make a difference. He would buy a meal for a stranger, lend a helping hand to a neighbor, encourage a friend who was going through a difficult time. He never expected anything in return. He simply believed that life was about giving, about lifting others up, about making the world a little better. Years passed, and his small acts of kindness seemed to go unnoticed. But what he did not realize was that every seed he had sown was taking root. One day, an opportunity came that changed his life. Someone he had helped years before remembered him and offered him a position he never could have imagined. Doors began to open, favor started flowing, and he stepped into a season of blessing beyond what he had ever expected. Looking back, he realized that none of it was accidental. Every moment of generosity had been a seed, and now he was walking in the harvest. This is not just a feel-good idea. It is a principle that governs the world. It is why the most successful people are often those who have been the most generous, those who have invested in others, those who have given even when it was difficult. The world calls it karma, some call it fate, but at its core it is a spiritual law. What you give will always return to you, often in greater measure. Some people hold back, afraid to give too much. They worry that if they are too generous, they will be left with nothing. But the truth is, the more you give, the more room you make for blessings to flow into your life. Think of a cup filled to the brim with water. If you never pour any out, there is no space for more to be added. But when you pour out, when you make room, suddenly there is space for something new, something fresh, something greater. The challenge is that we do not always see the harvest right away. A farmer does not plant a seed today and expect a fully grown crop tomorrow. He understands that there is a process, that growth takes time, that patience is required. The same is true in life. Sometimes the rewards of generosity do not come immediately. They may not come from the people we expect. But if we keep sowing, if we keep giving, if we keep pouring into others, the harvest will come at the right time, in the right way, often in ways we never imagined. There's an old story of a woman who struggled for years, facing hardships and setbacks. But despite her challenges, she always looked for ways to help others. She would cook meals for those in need, offer encouragement to the discouraged, and give what little she had to make someone else's life better. She never did it for recognition, never expected anything in return. But one day, when she least expected it, everything changed. A door opened, a new opportunity arose, and she found herself in a place of incredible blessing. It was not by accident. Every act of kindness, every moment of generosity had been a seed, and now she was walking in the harvest. This is the power of living with an open heart. It is the assurance that what you pour into others will never be wasted. It may not always return from the same source. It may not always come in the way you expect, but it will always come. Life has a way of bringing back what you put into it. So the question is, what kind of harvest are you planting? If you want kindness, give kindness. If you want love, show love. If you want opportunities, create opportunities for others. If you want abundance, be generous with what you have. It may seem small now, but in the right season, in the right time, those seeds will grow into something greater than you ever imagined. Do not hold back. Do not be afraid to give. Step out in faith. Pour into others. and trust that every seed you plant will return to you in ways beyond your wildest dreams. There is something truly remarkable about the way life works. Often we go through our days focused on our own needs, our own challenges, and our own desires. It is natural to think about what we are lacking or what we need to accomplish. But what if the very thing we need, the breakthrough we are waiting for, is tied to what we are willing to release? Every person we encounter is carrying something, dreams, burdens, struggles, and hopes. Sometimes they are praying for an answer, looking for a sign, or hoping for a helping hand. What if the very thing they need is something we already have? What if the extra that we so easily overlook is the key to unlocking a miracle in someone else's life? It is easy to dismiss what we have as too small or insignificant to make a difference. We think what I have doesn't matter, or someone else will take care of it. But the truth is, what seems ordinary to us could be extraordinary for someone else. What we see as extra, unnecessary, or even unimportant could be exactly what another person has been praying for. Think about the power of a simple act of generosity. It does not have to be something grand or extravagant in the way the world defines it. A kind word, a listening ear, an unexpected gift, or a small gesture can change the course of someone's life. We may never know the full impact of what we give, but that does not mean it is not significant. There was once a man who felt like he had nothing to offer. He was struggling financially, barely making ends meet, and constantly worried about how he would survive. One day he came across someone who was in even greater need than he was. Though he had very little, he decided to share what he could. It was not much, just a meal, just a moment of kindness. But to the person who received it, it meant everything. What that man did not realize was that his small act of generosity set something powerful in motion. The person he helped went on to turn their life around, and years later, that same person was in a position to help him in return. What seemed like a simple gesture at the time ended up being a defining moment that would eventually come full circle. This is the way giving works. It creates ripples far beyond what we can see or imagine. One small action, one act of kindness, one moment of selflessness has the power to spread in ways we may never fully understand. Too often we hold back, thinking that if we give too much, we will be left with less. But the opposite is true. The more we pour out, the more we make room to receive. It is not just about money or material things. It is about the spirit of generosity, the willingness to see beyond ourselves, the openness to be used as an instrument of blessing. Some of the most incredible stories in history have been shaped by simple acts of giving. A teacher who believed in a struggling student and gave them the encouragement they needed to succeed. A stranger who showed kindness to someone at their lowest point, giving them hope to keep going. A mentor who invested time in someone who felt lost, helping them discover their purpose. These moments may seem small in the moment, but their impact is immeasurable. Imagine a world where everyone lived with this mindset, where people saw what they had not just as something for themselves, but as something that could bless others. Imagine what would happen if, instead of thinking about what we can gain, we focused on what we can give. The world would look completely different. The beauty of generosity is that it is not dependent on wealth, status, or power. Anyone can give. A child can share their joy. A friend can offer encouragement. A stranger can extend kindness. It is not about how much we have. It is about the willingness to share what we do have. When we embrace this way of living, something shifts within us. We stop seeing life as a competition for resources and start seeing it as an opportunity to be a blessing. We stop worrying about lack and start trusting that there is always enough. We move from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance, knowing that what we give never leaves us empty. It sets us up for greater things. The truth is, when we give, we gain something far greater than what we give away. We gain fulfillment, purpose, and joy. There is no greater feeling than knowing you were able to make a difference in someone's life, even in a small way. So the question is, what do we have right now that could be someone else's miracle? What extra do we have? Time, resources, skills, words of encouragement that could be the very thing someone else needs to take the next step. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment to give, we can start where we are with what we have. When we live with this kind of generosity, life opens up in ways we never expected. Doors that seemed closed begin to open. Blessings flow in ways we could not have orchestrated on our own. Relationships deepen, opportunities arise, and we find ourselves walking in a greater purpose. No act of giving is too small. No moment of kindness is wasted. What we release may seem insignificant to us, but in the right hands, at the right time, it can change everything. So let's live with open hands. Let's recognize that what we have is not just for us, but to be shared. Let's step into the joy of knowing that what we give today can create miracles tomorrow. There is a deep and powerful truth about life that many people overlook. It is something that determines the course of our relationships, our opportunities, and even our own sense of fulfillment. It is the realization that our lives are not meant to be lived only for ourselves. We were created to pour into others, to lift people up, to add value to the world around us. The greatest impact we will ever make will not come from what we receive, but from what we give. Every person is placed on this earth with something to offer, something unique, something valuable, something that no one else can give in quite the same way. Yet many go through life holding back, keeping their gifts to themselves, either out of fear, insecurity, or the belief that what they have is not enough. But true greatness is found in giving freely, in choosing to be a source of blessing, in living life with an open heart and an open hand. There is a profound joy that comes from giving when we shift our focus from what we can gain to what we can give. Everything changes. We begin to see people differently. We start looking for ways to encourage, to support, to uplift. We stop worrying about what we lack and start recognizing the abundance we already have. Some people think that in order to give, they must have great wealth, a high position, or extraordinary resources. But giving is not about how much you have. It is about what you do with what you have. Some of the most impactful acts of generosity come from those who have very little but still choose to share. A kind word, a moment of encouragement, a helping hand. These small actions may seem insignificant, but they can be life-changing for someone else. Think about a time when someone went out of their way to help you. Maybe it was a friend who believed in you when you doubted yourself. Maybe it was a stranger who showed kindness when you needed it most. Maybe it was a mentor who took the time to invest in you even when they had nothing to gain. Those moments of generosity likely had a lasting impact on you. And the amazing thing is, you have the power to create that same kind of impact for someone else. The greatest leaders, the most successful individuals, the people who are truly fulfilled in life, all have one thing in common. They are givers. They are not focused solely on what they can accumulate, but on what they can contribute. They understand that the measure of a life is not in how much is received, but in how much is given. Giving is not always easy. There will be times when you feel like you do not have much to offer. There will be moments when it seems inconvenient, when it requires sacrifice, when it feels like no one notices or appreciates your efforts. But true generosity is not about recognition. It is about impact. It is about making the difference, whether or not anyone sees it. There is a story of a woman who spent her life serving others. She was not famous, she was not wealthy, and she never sought attention for what she did. But she made it her mission to care for those around her. She would bring food to those who were struggling, visit the sick, and offer words of encouragement to those who were discouraged. She gave not because she had to, but because she believed that life was meant to be shared, that blessings were meant to be passed on. Years later, at her funeral, countless people showed up to honor her. They shared stories of how her small acts of kindness had changed their lives. Some credited her with helping them through their darkest moments. Others spoke about how her generosity had inspired them to give as well. She may not have been famous in the world's eyes, but in the eyes of those she touched, she was a giant. She left behind a legacy, not of wealth, but of impact. The truth is, every act of giving, no matter how small, has a ripple effect. When you choose to give, you set something in motion. You may never see the full impact of what you do, but that does not mean it is not making a difference. The kindness you show today could inspire someone to do the same for another person. The generosity you extend could spark a chain reaction that reaches farther than you ever imagined. Imagine what the world would look like if everyone lived this way, if people focused more on what they could give than what they could get. Imagine communities where people supported one another, where kindness was the norm, where generosity was a way of life. It would transform everything. And the good news is, it starts with us. We do not have to wait for someone else to lead the way. We can be the ones who choose to live differently. When we live as givers, something shifts within us. We begin to walk with a greater sense of purpose. We feel a deeper connection to those around us. We experience the kind of fulfillment that no amount of success or wealth can bring. Because at the end of the day, the true measure of a life well lived is not in what we take, but in what we give. So the challenge is this: what will you do with what you have? Will you hold back, or will you step out in faith and be a blessing? Will you focus on yourself, or will you choose to make an impact in the lives of others? The choice is yours. And the incredible thing is, when you choose to give, you are not just changing someone else's life, you are changing your own. There is no greater joy than knowing that because of you, someone else's life is better. Because of your generosity, someone found hope. Because of your kindness, someone kept going. Because of your willingness to give, the world became a little brighter. Do not underestimate the power of what you have to offer. Your time, your words, your talents, your resources, they all have the potential to change lives. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not think you have to wait until you have more. Start where you are, with what you have, and watch what happens. Because when you live with a spirit of generosity, you will leave behind a legacy that goes far beyond yourself. You will create something lasting, something meaningful, something that continues long after you are gone. And that is the kind of life worth living. Life is full of opportunities. Opportunities to make a difference, to leave a mark, to shape the world around us in ways both big and small. Every day we are faced with choices. Some seem insignificant in the moment, while others carry obvious weight. But in reality, even the smallest choices can have lasting effects. One of the most powerful choices we can make is to be a source of blessing in the lives of others. It is a decision that does not just affect those we give to, it transforms us in ways we never expected. There is something deeply fulfilling about knowing that because of you, someone else's burden is lighter, someone else's heart is lifted, someone else's path is clearer. This is not about seeking recognition or reward. It is about recognizing that we have the power to change lives, one act of generosity at a time. Many people go through life feeling unfulfilled, searching for something that will bring them lasting joy. They chase success, wealth, and status, thinking that these things will satisfy the longing inside them. But over and over again, we see that true fulfillment does not come from what we get, it comes from what we give. There is an undeniable joy that comes from stepping outside of ourselves and pouring into someone else. It is a joy that cannot be manufactured or bought. It is the joy of knowing that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. It is the joy of seeing someone's life change because we chose to step up and give. Think about a time when you received an unexpected blessing. Maybe someone helped you when you least expected it. Maybe someone gave you an opportunity that changed your life. Maybe a simple act of kindness came at exactly the right moment. Those moments stay with us. They remind us of the goodness in the world. They inspire us to do the same for others. And when we become the ones who give, we get to experience that same joy from the other side. There was once a businessman who had achieved great success. He had everything he had ever dreamed of: wealth, status, influence. But despite all of it, he felt empty. No matter how much he accomplished, it never felt like enough. One day he met a man who had very little but seemed completely at peace. Curious, the businessman asked, "What is your secret? Why do you seem so content even though you have so little?" The man smiled and said, "I have everything I need because I give everything I can." The businessman did not understand at first, but he decided to test the idea. He started giving not just money, but time, attention, encouragement. And something amazing happened. The more he gave, the more fulfilled he felt. The more he poured into others, the more joy he experienced. It was a lesson he never forgot. Giving is not just about helping others. It is about transforming ourselves. It shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have. It reminds us that we are not alone, that we are part of something bigger. When we make generosity a habit, something inside us changes. We begin to walk with a greater sense of purpose. We feel more connected to the people around us. We start to see opportunities everywhere. Opportunities to lift, to encourage, to make a difference. It does not take much to make an impact. A small act of kindness can change someone's entire day. A moment of encouragement can give someone the strength to keep going. A little bit of generosity can create a ripple effect that reaches farther than we ever imagined. But the truth is, many people hold back from giving. They think they need to wait until they have more, until they are in a better position, until the perfect moment arrives. But the reality is the perfect moment never comes. If we wait for the right time, we will always find an excuse to delay. The time to give is now. The opportunities are all around us. And the beautiful thing is when we step out in generosity, life opens up in unexpected ways. Some of the most successful and fulfilled people in the world did not get there by focusing only on themselves. They got there by giving, by investing in others, by pouring into their communities, by making generosity a way of life. The amazing thing is, giving does not just bless the person receiving, it blesses the giver even more. Studies show that people who practice generosity live longer, experience less stress, and have a greater sense of happiness and purpose. And why? Because giving aligns us with the way we were created to live. We were never meant to go through life isolated, focused only on ourselves. We were designed to connect, to share, to lift others up. And when we embrace that truth, everything changes. Imagine if everyone lived with this mindset. Imagine if every person woke up each day asking, how can I be a blessing today? Imagine the impact it would have on families, communities, workplaces, and even the world. It starts with one person. It starts with one choice. It starts with you. Right now, you have something to give. It may not seem like much, but what seems small to you could be huge for someone else. A kind word, a listening ear, a helping hand. These are things that money cannot buy, but they have the power to change lives. So the challenge is this: will you step into the joy of giving? Will you choose to be a source of blessing no matter where you are or what you have? Because when you do, you will find that the more you give, the more you receive, not just in material ways, but in the things that truly matter: peace, fulfillment, and a life of deep, lasting impact. You do not have to wait. You can start right now. And as you do, you will discover that there is no greater joy than living a life poured out for others. There is a profound truth about life that many people overlook. It is something that has the power to shape our experiences, change our perspective, and determine the kind of impact we leave behind. It is the realization that what we do today does not just affect us, it extends far beyond us. The choices we make, the way we treat others, and the way we live our lives all contribute to something greater than ourselves. Every action, every word, every gesture of kindness creates ripples that move outward in ways we may never fully see or understand. When we choose to live in a way that is not just about ourselves, but about making a difference, we begin to build something that lasts far beyond our own lifetime. Many people spend their lives chasing things that will fade: wealth, status, personal success. While there is nothing wrong with achieving great things, the real question is, what will remain once everything else is gone? What will we be remembered for? What kind of impact will we leave on the world around us? Some of the most influential people in history were not necessarily the richest, the most famous, or the most powerful. They were the ones who chose to live in a way that left a mark on others. They were givers. They invested in people. They poured into their communities. They used what they had to create lasting change. Think about the people who have had the greatest impact on your life. Chances are they were not the ones who took the most from the world, but the ones who gave the most. Maybe it was a teacher who believed in you when no one else did. Maybe it was a mentor who took the time to guide you. Maybe it was a friend who stood by you during difficult times. These are the people we remember, not because of what they had, but because of what they gave. And just like they made an impact on you, you have the power to do the same for someone else. The reality is no act of generosity is ever wasted. It does not matter if it seems small in the moment. A kind word, a simple act of encouragement, a moment of selflessness. These things add up over time. They create a legacy that continues to grow long after we are gone. There is a story of a man who spent his life helping others. He was not wealthy, he was not famous, and he never sought recognition. He simply made it his mission to do good wherever he could. He mentored young people, he supported those in need, and he made sure that no one in his community ever felt alone. Years later, at his funeral, hundreds of people showed up to honor him. They shared stories of how his kindness had changed their lives. Some credited him with giving them the confidence to pursue their dreams. Others spoke of how his generosity had inspired them to do the same. He did not leave behind great riches or monuments in his name, but what he left behind was far greater, a legacy of love, kindness, and impact that would continue to live on. This is the kind of legacy that is built through generosity. It is not measured by what we accumulate, but by what we give. It is not about how much we own, but about how much we invest in others. Every day, we have an opportunity to build this kind of legacy. It does not happen all at once. It is built through daily choices, the decision to help someone, to encourage, to share, to lift others up. Some people wait until they feel like they have enough before they start giving. They think, one day, when I have more time, more money, more resources, then I will give. But the truth is, the best time to start is now, because generosity is not about how much we have. It is about what we do with what we have. Even the smallest act of kindness can set something powerful in motion. A single seed of generosity can grow into something far greater than we ever imagined. Think about a single candle. One candle may not seem like much, but when it is used to light another and then another, soon the entire room is filled with light. This is what happens when we give. It spreads, it grows. It reaches places we never could have reached on our own. The world needs more people who are willing to give, not just their money, but their time, their encouragement, their support. It needs people who are willing to be a light in the lives of others, who choose to live with open hands and open hearts. When we live this way, something incredible happens. Not only do we bless others, but we ourselves are blessed in return. We begin to experience life in a deeper way. We find joy, fulfillment, and purpose that cannot be found in material things. There is no greater feeling than knowing that because of you, someone's life is better. Because of your generosity, someone had hope. Because of your kindness, someone felt valued. Because of your willingness to give, the world became a little brighter. So the question is, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? What will you be remembered for? Will you be known for what you took or for what you gave? You do not have to wait for a perfect moment to start building your legacy. You can start today, right where you are with what you have. It does not matter how big or small your act of generosity may seem. What matters is that you choose to give, because when you do, you are creating something that will last far beyond yourself. Imagine the kind of impact you could make if you made the decision to live generously every single day. Imagine the lives you could touch, the hearts you could lift, the difference you could make. It all starts with a choice. A choice to give, to share, to pour into others. And as you do, you will find that the more you give, the richer your life becomes, not in material things, but in the things that truly matter. Because in the end, what we give is what truly remains. Life is not measured by what we receive, but by what we give. The true measure of success is not in how much we accumulate, but in how much we contribute. We were created to be givers, to lift others, to share what we have, to pour into the lives of those around us. Every choice we make, every act of kindness, every moment of generosity creates a ripple effect that reaches far beyond what we can see. What we do today does not just impact the present, it builds a legacy that will continue to grow long after we are gone. The world needs more extravagant givers. It needs people who are willing to step beyond themselves, to be a source of encouragement, to invest in others, to make generosity a way of life. You have something to offer. You have something that can change someone's life. And the good news is you do not have to wait. You can start right now. Do not hold back. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not underestimate the power of even the smallest act of giving. Because when you choose to give, you are not just changing someone else's life, you are changing your own. So step out, give freely, live generously, because when you do, you will experience a life of deeper joy, greater purpose, and a lasting impact that will never fade.